The Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Blockchain Super Conference is coming to Dallas, Texas, February 16, 17, and 18 in 2018. If you know of a better way to get the latest insider knowledge about crypto, to hear directly from the top minds in this field, to interact personally with 800 fellow crypto lovers, hodlers, investors, miners, traders, developers, and founders, then I'd like to hear about it. If you don't, then you don't want to miss out. Register today for the Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Blockchain Super Conference. Go to bitcoinsuperconference.com and register today as a super early bird to get the lowest rates on tickets and hotel rooms. That's bitcoinsuperconference.com.
Welcome to Almost Here, Round the Corner Future Technology podcast with Richard Jacobs. Future technologies poised to transform our lives for better or worse are the focus of this podcast. Almost here means these technologies are now here and starting to be used, or just around the corner, from Bitcoin to artificial intelligence, 3D printing, blockchain, virtual reality, and more.
Hello, this is Richard Jacobs, Future Tech Podcast, and I'm talking to Gaurang Torvekar, CEO and founder of Indorse.io. It's INDORSE.io. And Gaurang is going to be coming and speaking at the Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Blockchain Super Conference coming just next week, Dallas, Texas. So, Gaurang, how are you doing?
Hey, Richard, I'm doing good. Thank you for having me on the podcast today.
Yeah, thanks for coming again. So, without giving away everything, can you let listeners know a few hints about what you're going to be talking about at the conference?
Yeah, so I'm going to be talking about blockchain in education. So the idea is that through my two companies, Torvekar and Indorse, I've been working mainly on education and validations and certifications. So I'm going to be talking more about that and how blockchain is actually revolutionizing education. Recently, last year actually, 3 months ago, we also got mentioned in a report by the European Union Parliament about blockchain in education, and I'm going to speak more about that.
Oh, very cool. Well, let's talk a little bit about Indorse itself. I've asked you about it before, but listeners may not know. What's the premise of the company, and what do you guys do there?
Yeah, so Indorse is a decentralized professional network on the blockchain.
So when you say that, you mean it's like a LinkedIn, but it's like a decentralized LinkedIn with profiles, or tell me more?
Yeah, it's kind of like that. So at Indorse, we are trying to solve three problems. So currently with the existing social networks, you don't get control over your data. They control your data, they can manipulate it, they can do whatever they want with it. The second problem is that these networks, they can monetize your data. So they take your data and, they become billions of dollars in valuation. You as an individual user don't get anything out of it. And the third problem is that right now there is no validation on any of these networks. Whatever you put, people have to take you at your face value and go with that. So we are trying to solve all these three problems using blockchain technology, particularly Ethereum in this case.
So have you created your own blockchain and your own token based on Ethereum, an ERC20 token, or how does it work?
Yes. So we have an ERC20 token called IND. We conducted a ICO, which is nowadays called the Token Generation Event, back in August and September. The ICO concluded on 7th of September, where we raised around 27,000 Ether at that time.
Okay. And what's the role of the token? So if I want to be on your network, what are the benefits I get from being on it, and how do I literally get onto your network?
Mm-hmm. Cool. At Indorse, we are trying to work on the entire stack, which is decentralized in nature, right? So right from the authentication at the top of the stack to the smart contracts on the Ethereum blockchain to the database on decentralized databases like BigchainDB or even BlueCell in the future. Also, we are using IPFS for file storage. So the idea is that your entire profile is going to be on a decentralized network. And more interesting than that, Indorse is about skills validations as well. So the third problem we are trying to solve, that is skills validations. Now suppose, Richard, you say that, hey, I know Java. You come to Indorse, you say, I know Java, and you make a claim about that. So essentially, everything on Indorse is going to be a claim. Along with this claim, you'll have to add a proof element. So you say that, hey, I know Java, and then you'll add your GitHub repository as a proof element with this. So this claim will go for endorsements to multiple people on the platform. These people will be chosen at random, and they will look at your proof element and validate or flag your claim. So in this case, the idea is that your claim has to be objective enough that based on the proof element, people should be able to endorse you, even if they don't know you. Because we are going with the premise that you don't need to know a person in order to endorse him, or in order to know if he is actually speaking the truth or not. So in case of Vitalik, not many people actually have seen Vitalik or met Vitalik in person, but they can look at his code, they can look at his white papers, they can look at his videos, and they can actually know that Vitalik is speaking the truth. Whatever he is creating is really awesome.
Well, how would people verify? So let's say I'm a Java programmer, and I do this and I do that. I have my profile on Indorse. How am I vetted? How am I verified?
We are going with an assumption right now that the onus falls on the user to be able to verify himself or validate himself. So in this case, if you say that I know Java, you'll have to attach a GitHub repository, your code along with your claim. And what happens is when this claim goes for verification or validation to multiple people, each of these actors in the system have to take some efforts, and so the claimant and the validators, each of them get rewarded in the form of IND tokens for their activity on the platform. So essentially, the more active you are on the platform, the more rewards you'll get. So that's the entire premise about Indorse and the IND tokens. So essentially, IND token becomes like a utility token, and it's used for rewarding for your activities.
What kind of activities can people do on the platform, and how will that benefit other people or themselves?
So right now we are looking at two or three major types of activities. One is coming and claiming that you can do something, or creating your profile and all these things. The second is validation of your claims. And we are looking at one more perspective at Indorse. So last time we spoke, we hadn't started with this, but now I think we are coming out with one more feature, which is a company pages feature. So imagine that you are an advisor. You're a company. So right now you're focusing on blockchain companies. Imagine that you're a company who wants to do an ICO, or who wants to do a token generation event. So at this point of time, there are so many companies who are adding scam advisors to their company pages, or even on the company website. So at Indorse, we are trying to solve this problem by creating a company page, adding an advisor, and doing like two transactions on the blockchain. So if I say that Richard is a advisor to Indorse, I will send you a transaction on the in a smart contract. I'll just send a transaction saying that Richard is a advisor, and on the other side, you'll actually accept that transaction. So by doing these two transactions directly on the blockchain, as Richard, you'll be able to validate that you are advising me. And just using this simple mechanism, we are trying to solve the advisor validation problem. And I think companies are loving this idea. They see a lot of value in this, and I think it's going to work out well.
I see what you mean. So you're requiring people to publicly say, yes, we're working together in an advisory capacity, and it's on a blockchain.
Exactly. So, and you don't have to do any complex mechanisms like create a contract or publish your contract. You just say on the blockchain in a trustless manner that, hey, I'm working with Indorse.
What about where people get paid, when someone gets paid? Let's say I work for a company. Could you have a system by which every time they pay me, they also do a transaction on your network that says we've paid you, and I accept the transaction and said, yes, I got paid? Would that help me, or would that help the company? Would that be any public display of proof of me working with a company, for instance? What do you think about that?
Yeah, man. I think that's a good idea. It might just work out, So actually, what we are working on at the core is something called a connection smart contract. So we are just putting it out for audit next week. So the idea is that in this the contract is very abstract in nature, right? So it's about connecting people or entities at a very high level. So now you could imagine this can be applied to companies and advisors, as I told you earlier, or it could be applied to companies and their employees, or even companies and freelancers. So you can be connected to your freelancer. You can add one more condition in there, saying that hey, when the job is done, just do one more transaction and give me a payment. Or in the future even it can be applied to IoT devices as well. So you could have Richard connected to his I don't know light bulb in the house, or you can be connected to your Tesla car later, and when it goes to Mars, you can say, hey, my car is in Mars. I can prove that on the blockchain directly.
Okay. What about someone's connections? Let's say, I keep thinking of LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say I want to vet someone that they're real and their profile on your network is fleshed out and they really do have all these connections and they really do have all these skills. And how many different ways can I verify somebody, and how many different ways do you think someone needs to be verified? And will you assign I guess levels of recognition? I'm this person's gold star verified or 5-point verified. You're going to have a scoring system, for instance.
Hey, man, that's a great question actually. So see, it's one of the problems we are trying to solve, which is Sybil attack prevention. So attaching like a profile identity to your profile and making sure that this Ethereum address belongs to this person on the platform. So we are actively trying to solve this problem. Currently, we have a mechanism in which we try to take data from multiple social profiles. So we ask you to log in from like Facebook, LinkedIn, Gmail, other media, and we try to score your profile based on that. That's just one of the starting points. Second way or third way that we are trying to solve this is by using systems like Uport and Civic as well. So yeah, we are actively working on that. In the next 1 or 2 months, we should be able to have a solution that just might work. See, frankly, it is not very easy to solve this problem. We can only reach a certain confidence level, saying that this person is who he says he is. So yeah, I think we are actually trying to solve that problem, and along with that, we are going to start onboarding people that we know, some influencers in the community. Because between me and David, who is my co-founder, we know a lot of people in the community, at least in Singapore. So we can start onboarding that. We can start giving them the green tick mark that you see on Twitter or Facebook, right? Which is a verified profile. So, we could start doing that as well. And hey, like having a star rating on your profile is not a bad idea. We could use that.
Okay. Well, very good. Any particular milestones that are coming in 2018 in the next 3, 6, 9 months? What particular features are you going to be rolling out?
Yeah, so the connection smart contract, the company pages, is the immediate feature that we are working on right now. So that should be ideally done, in the first half of this month. In software development, it always takes a little longer. So yeah, that's one of the major features coming out, and we'll be working in that direction later on. So we are starting with advisors and companies. We might work on companies and employees, and later we could even do like company to company partnerships. So right now, after ICOs or before ICOs, a lot of ICO companies are doing partnerships. So we could even do that directly in the blockchain, make sure that people know about it and people don't need to trust anyone for that. So that's one of the features in the near short term. Later on, we also want to start with skills validations, and yeah, that's one more interesting aspect we are working on. So along with the crowdsourced validation I told you about earlier, see, the crowdsourced validation is going to take time. We need to solve some hard problems before that, which is the Sybil attack prevention, as you said earlier. Also, we need a critical mass of people on the platform. Some of them need to be active all the time. So that will take a lot of time, maybe like Q3, Q4 of this year. And that's the final vision of Indorse I need to achieve. But in the meanwhile, even in the skills validation algorithm or in the skills validation vertical, I think we can have multiple layers in that process. So the first layer that we are working on is AI chatbot validation. So we are tying up with a local Singaporean company. They have a chatbot which like pre-interviews you. So they are already working with some big companies in Singapore. And so what this chatbot does is, so next time when you say that I know Java, it will ask you some basic questions about Java. it will see that, hey, what is a class? What is an inheritance? What is polymorphism? And if you don't know these questions, the answers to these questions, that means you don't really know Java. Or, if you say, I know blockchain, in that case, it will start asking you like, hey, what is a hash? Or what is a 51% attack? Or what is mining?
Right.
And if you don't really know that, you're not, you're not telling the truth. You're lying in this case. So that's one of the features. That's one of the features we are working on. And with this chatbot, it also gives people like a complete report on this guy. So the chatbot starts with asking you about your name and your resume and your LinkedIn profile and all these things. So that's one good feature we are working on. The second step on that will be doing like trusted validation. So attaching with some external certification websites or certification providers like Coursera or any of the physical courses like General Assembly and all these things. That can be the second layer in this process, which ultimately leads us to the crowdsourced validations.
Okay, well, very good. All right, so Gaurang, how can people get involved with Indorse? Where should they go, and how can they go? Are there channels for them to ask questions or find out more? Where can we point them?
Sure. So people can go to my website, indorse.io, indorse.io.
Okay, that's the best way. Very good. Well, Gaurang, thank you for being on the podcast, and I'm looking forward to seeing you present next week. And thanks so much.
Hey, thank you, Richard.
The Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Blockchain Super Conference is coming to Dallas, Texas, February 16, 17, and 18 in 2018. If you know of a better way to get the latest insider knowledge about crypto, to hear directly from the top minds in this field, to interact personally with 800 fellow crypto lovers, hodlers, investors, miners, traders, developers, and founders, then I'd like to hear about it. If you don't, then you don't want to miss out. Register today for the Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Blockchain Super Conference. Go to bitcoinsuperconference.com and register today as a super early bird to get the lowest rates on tickets and hotel rooms. That's bitcoinsuperconference.com.
You have been listening to Almost Here, Around the Corner Future Technology podcast with Richard Jacobs. Subscribe to this podcast, post a review to discover more future technologies that are poised to transform our lives for better or worse, such as Bitcoin, artificial intelligence, 3D printing, blockchain, virtual reality, and more.